It should be legal to hunt pedophiles for sport. And if that statement offends you, then it should be legal to hunt you for sport too. I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
Baby Maker. I foresee myself farming for that at some point in the future. Imagine how well that will pair with the Avengoid. Whenever I play as Maya, which isn't often, I always wear the Dr. Crazy head. Holding on to this because it holds 4 instead of 3 and has better ignite chance. Trenchant. Is that the correct way to pronounce that? Is it trenchant or is it trenchant? It looks like there might be a chance that it might be a French word, but I don't know for sure. Malawan sounds like a Japanese name. That's a pretty good Tesla. Tesla wanted the U.S. to have his death ray technology. He did not want it to be used by the Nazis or the Soviets.
Be careful out
there.
Speaking of death rays, when I was a kid, I had an entire collection of comic books based on classic stories. And my fave was War of the Worlds.
Jack said he's here.
Eternal Flame. That reminds me of the character called the Eternal Flame from Freaked. To find out why he's called that, just watch the movie. Don't make me explain it.
Get your health and shields right here.
Oh, what all is on my shopping list?
You can always trust the God at your side.
I know I often say Vladoff launchers just don't do it for me because they're too ordinary.
I always got new stock. Check back later.
And that's true for most Vladoff weapons. But sometimes, you know how it is when, well, there's a phrase that pertains to this concept. And it's not absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's something else that has basically a similar meaning to it, like deprivation of something or rather. I don't think the word deprivation is used. I often sometimes get my metaphors and figures of speech mixed up. Sometimes I do it on purpose, for the sake of poetic license. There's a proper way to utilize poetic license. It takes finesse. In Borderlands 1, Tannis talks about Pandora's rotation or revolution, or maybe both. The way the planet cycles. I was just thinking about that because Elpis and Helios are always at that point in the sky. Just seems like it would be logistically difficult from a Jackside perspective. With the whole lunar bombardment thing. All right. I wants me a fastball. Also, I want to play around with a different loadout. What is that? That's a doll barrel. Malawan grip, beneficial since this is electric. TDR stock, doll sight. I want to say that's a Hyperion barrel. I can usually tell distinctively just by looking.
Guns! I got them, you need them. When you think murder, think Marcus munitions. I'm sure we'll be doing this again soon enough.
Should have tossed this at him. I'm usually good about my TDR reloads. Wasn't impressed with this. But maybe I chose the wrong enemy to test it on. Conference call. Diaub. So far, they've taunted me with images of the baby maker and the conference call.
You can never be too well armed. Don't get killed.
Agreed.
Don't have too
Agreed
much
about
fun.
never being too well armed. And about don't get killed.
Statistically, these are the safest cars on Pandora. Let me toss the numbers at you. 5, 23, 806.
I'll probably sell this. Rockets are too slow. Due to the Torg exhaust port.
Sentry deployed!
And no Malawan parts to make up for it. It would take a Malawan barrel, not just any parts, but a barrel specifically, to make up for that. I'm not even going with an explodey Axton build at the moment. I call this build Gun Nut Survivalist. Get it? Because gunpowder and survival. That's why I'm so hard to kill. Most of the time. Usually when I die to death, it's because of some miscalculation. All SMGs are bullpups.
Guns, glorious guns.
But the way the magazine is canted
I'm sure we'll be doing this again soon
is
enough.
unusual
You're an organ donor.
for a bullpup. Okay, that was attempt number 2. This is 3. If I recall, on UVHM it took me something like only No, I scored 2 fastballs within, I think it was 6 tries. Because the first one I got was Karate, and I specifically wanted non-elemental. I don't mind 3 rockets being the capacity on a Mal launcher with a Vlad barrel, a Prowler, because it makes sense. But still, I've gotten accustomed to having that 4th rocket to fire. Wouldn't mind getting my mitts on a Malawan launcher with a matching Malawan barrel and maybe other flat-off parts to give that extra rocket. Fourth attempt coming up. That's a TDOR barrel. Communism is lame. It's an old idea that appeals only to old minds.
You can always trust the gun at your side. See you soon. 2 words, my friend. No refunds.
No, I don't need to spawn 2. You've seen why I do that. A convenient way to teleport across the map. But at this point, it's just a habit. Standard procedure. And scored some rockets. That was attempt number 4. Is that an invader? I never liked the Hyperion invader in Borderlands 1. Just not my style.
You can never be too well armed. I'm always happy to take your money. Don't have too much fun. Sit out.
What did I say this is? Attempt number 5? The two weapons I'm using most on UVHM are plain old common greens. Despite my having ledges and perps at my ledges and pearls at my disposal. Well, one pearl so far. I'm not going to bother counting the number of attempts, or maybe I will. It's hard for me to tell my brain to not do stuff like that.
Catch a gun! Never doing that again.
Doesn't really fulfill any of my needs.
Okay, the bad guy's a new one, huh?
That blue Jake, I mean.
Farewell, friend.
Well, look at that. I would not have expected a green absorb shield, regardless of how it's parted, to have a higher absorb chance than a blue. Still, I'm not going to buy it because I want a blue one. Or better. Or am I being foolish? I think I'm being foolish. I have money to burn. Gotta have something to do with that prefix gorilla. Which has to do with the parts. And the only parts I know how to identify off the top of my head are the left side parts for Anshin and Pangolin. And that one right there is Anshin.
If you got the money, I'll save your gall-darn life.
I hear you know who. What is Savage Lee's name a reference to? He's mine. Really? Bring it.
I'm ready for more!
Really? More distractions? Where the hell did Savage Lee go? It would really piss me off if I missed out on a Herald. See, I didn't get to be the one to finish him off. the Herald would still, if the Herald was going to show up, it would still show up, even if I wasn't the one to finish off Savage Lee. I know that for sure because the first time I ever found a Herald, which was the first legendary I ever found on my first playthrough as 0, I found it just lying in the snow. This green absorb shield was a good purchase, apparently. It's noticeably better, even with just this slightly better percentage, and it seems to be noticeably better.
Always got new stock. Check back later. A pleasure as always. Thanks for the scratch. Come back anytime.
Yeah, I know I should have done that before rounding out my pistol ammo. Didn't think about it till after the fact. Is this attempt number 6 or 7?
Now you be careful, honey.
Some argue about whose turret is better, Axton's turret or Roland's turret. Axton's turret, which is of Dahl manufacture and is called a Saber. Roland's, which is of Atlas manufacture and is called a Scorpio. Well, I think they both bring something to the table. If people still use that expression.
Buy a gun already. Tear the bad guys a new one, huh?
I think Roland's is more geared toward
I'll keep you that way.
co-op. That's tempting.
Be careful out there.
Catch a rat!
But I've decided to stick with absorb shields for now because rocket launchers. When I heard Bullymong activity, I thought there might be a chance that Savage Lee was there again.
Say hello, beautiful.
What am I doing? I know what I was about to do. I was about to go and scrounge other stuff.
You can always trust the gun at your side.
It's a perfect hybrid. Malawan parts on a TDOR launcher with a bandit sight. Not my style. I just wanted to point that
Check
out.
back later to see my new weapon of the day. Good luck. Stay alive out there.
Grind him up!
Oh look, a blue lance. I don't know if that would cut it anymore. Without buffs. I mean, all by
Why
itself.
loot the dead when you can buy from me? Welcome, customer. Remember, we're always open.
Axton and Krieg can always get good use out of them. Of course, I'm sticking with the one with the higher absorb chance. Look at the difference in capacity, though. Of course, that's due to the pangolin part on the side.
See you real soon, I'm sure.
But I think the detrimental aspect of that is that it reduces the special effect of the shield. Don't quote me on that. I don't entirely remember.
Deploying sentry!
Just an ordinary, plain old green absorb shield. Often overlooked. Everyone thinks it's got to be the sham or bust. but it doesn't. T or barrel on a blue Jake revolver. And a Pritchard-style pig sticker.
Guns,
Pig
glorious
sticker.
guns. See you soon. Farewell, friend.
I'll catch you whenever you need it.
When I saw that bully mong activity, I had a feeling.
Say hello, sweetie.
Oh, excellent.
Tossing grenade.
Bone of the ancients.
Who's next, huh?
Elemental survivalist. Nope.
Haven't found anything good? My weapon machines will fix that for you. Always happy to do business with a vault hunter.
I forget what was in these
Two words, my friend.
shops.
No
Oh, yeah.
refunds.
Come on back in.
I'll take the Dollmobile. Just so it doesn't feel left out. Yeah, because as we all know, inanimate objects have feelings. And it's not even a real inanimate object. It's a video game simulation of Okay.
Want to meet my girlfriend?
I've probably seen the Brave Little Toaster one too many times. Apparently, INTJs are notorious for anthropomorphizing inanimate objects. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if a whole lot of us are fans of the Brave Little Toaster. As a kid, I just thought it was an entertaining movie. As an adult, I realized it's a work of genius. It's also got that borderline Watership Down sense of darkness to it. Not blatantly dystopian, but borderline. And, well, not really
You can never be too well
nearly
armed.
as much as Watership Down.
I'll always buy guns you don't need. Tell your friends, Marcus munitions.
Socialized.
Next time you're bleeding to death, just think.
And it has that ancient part on the side. Socialized. That reminds me of when I was a kid in elementary school in the 80s. Hold on just a moment. My former and now current roommate brought me a cappuccino in a mug that he and his wife picked out for me, which has a picture of a boxer dog on it, which is my favorite dog breed of
Hey, stand
dog.
in front of this!
I used to have one. And before I get distracted in the head talking about that,
Thanks, honey!
let me go back to the previous topic. When I was an 80s kid in the 80s, and I think this was even before I had a mullet. Hashtag mullet shaming. I had a 1970s issue Old Dominion Marine Biology textbook that my mom had given me, and I loved it. Oh, I don't need to do that. I've gotten so used to it at this point. I do it without thinking now. Ingrained in muscle memory. So yeah. Reading college-level marine biology in elementary school. Yes, I was that much of a nerd. I didn't look the part, though. I looked more like Bart Simpson with brown hair, rather than Steve Urkel, or Sponge, or Screech.
I'll always buy guns you don't
Assuming
need.
you remember the shows those characters are from.
I'm sure we'll be
Sponge
doing this again
from-
soon enough.
See you real soon, I'm sure.
What's it? Screech is from Saved by the Bell. Sponge was from Salute Your Shorts. That's what it was. I didn't look like any of those stereotypes. Ha! You almost jumped, but you didn't. Let's see how much your health can regen before I waste you. So anyway, why did the word socialized remind me of that? Because one day, at recess, in the gym, which must have meant that this was either during the cold season, a cold month, or it was raining outside. Because weather permitting, we always did recess outside.
Lock and load.
Which is the way you ought to do it. Am I right? I was reading my marine biology book at recess. And a teacher took it away from me. Made me play basketball with the other kids, who resented my presence because I was no good. Keep in mind, this is Northeast Indiana. We're not really known for producing marine biologists, but basketball is part of the culture here.
Now you be careful, honey.
I got my book back, but it's the principle of the thing. I sometimes joke that this was indicative of the ironically or hypocritically anti-intellectual predilection of the public school system, even back in the 80s. But realistically, that probably wasn't her goal. In her mind, she was probably trying to socialize me. Textbook plight of the textbook INTJ. Have you, any of yous, ever seen
You can never be too well
Mike
armed.
Judge's brilliant opus, Idiocracy?
Don't get killed.
Now that has a Torg barrel and a Malawan exhaust port. Two parts that contradict each other. If they were the other way around, it would be better. I got a good one. That absorbs shield. Where do we INTJs get this reputation for being arrogant? Are most of us actually like that? I hope I never came across that way to anybody. I know I went through an aggressive phase as a teenager.
Want to meet my girlfriend?
you kind of look like a snork without the hose. Really, looking back on it, honestly, that aggressive phase was most likely an attempt to mask my inferiority complex. I think rather than being arrogant, we INTJs tend to lean to the extreme in one direction or the other. Either a superiority complex, which justifies the stereotype of us being arrogant, which is probably the way it is for assertive types rather than turbulent types, or the opposite extreme, an inferiority complex, which seems like it would correspond more with the turbulent type.
Buy a gun already!
Yeah, just as soon as you present me with something worth buying. Torg barrel and Torg exhaust on a Torg. This Malawan grip. Now that actually doesn't accelerate rocket speed the way a Malawan barrel and exhaust port do. This Malawan, oh, and it has a Torg. It's almost all Torg except for the Malawan grip. What does the...
later to see my new
I'm trying to think.
I'm sure we'll be doing this again soon enough.
What that thing...
You can
The Malawan
always
grip on
trust
a
the
launcher.
gun at your side. I've always got new
I know it
stuff.
increases elemental
Check back
effect
later.
chance, but I don't recall if it does anything other than that. Bull just doesn't want to give up the fastball. Sometimes I want to call him Bull Weevil. A weevil is a cousin of beetles. Weevils are cousins of beetles, is how I should have phrased that. I think they're also called snout bugs or snout beetles. Technically, bugs are insects of the order Hemiptera, which includes but is not limited to plant hoppers, leaf hoppers, and tree hoppers, and cicadas. Those are all cousins within the same order. They have piercing proboscis type mouth parts, which is their defining characteristic. Weevils have a proboscis too, but theirs is different. Rather than a piercing proboscis, weevils have chewing mouth parts like a beetle, but at the end of a proboscis.
You can never be too well armed.
By the way, entomology was another subject I found fascinating ever since I was a kid, and I still do.
Don't get killed.
Where I used to work, they called me, that one guy in particular called me Grissom,
Farewell, friend.
in reference to Gil Grissom,
See you real soon.
you know, from CSI. His entomological specialty was forensic entomology. Whereas I'm fascinated with ecosystems in their entirety. Once again, characters are always jumping out of vehicles in the wrong direction. Just like in Borderlands 1. Remember in Rust Commons West? Down the road from Tannis's place?
Primed!
There you are. Well, that place I just described in Borderlands 1. The, what is it? Underpass or overpass? A specific area in Rust Commons West. It's on the way to Tannis's camp. I would always park my vehicle and jump out, and my character would always jump out toward the cliffside instead of away from it. Was that a Farouk I saw just a moment ago? I wasn't paying attention entirely. In other words, my character would jump out to the right when it made more sense to jump out to the left. Other times they do the opposite. It's like they would pay no mind to the terrain whatsoever.
Let's get you rolling.
And in the secret armory of General Knox, also, there was this one place where if I parked on the road with the curb to my left, I would want to jump out to my left, but my character would always jump out to the
Say
right.
hello, darling.
And I'd always end up having to walk around my vehicle to get back in the direction I was going. Not a big deal. And only... Oh, I see it. Only detail-obsessed freaks like myself would even care about such things. Two for one sale. Let's see what kind it is. I hope it's a plain old explodey. Yes! It looks like my cell phone. I know I say that all the time, but it's worth reiterating. Awesome. I'm hungry. I have a severe craving for an authentic Chicago dog. Not wasting a fastball on a little one. See why I'm doing it that way? Don't want to waste a fastball on a wounded enemy. Ha! Oh, can we please not do this? An elemental. Any sort of suitable assault rifle that's elemental combined with a corresponding bone of the ancients. Would be interesting to see how that would fare. Hop on up here. Ha! Don't need to slag you. Well, that was perfect timing on your part. Bring it. Thought I saw the shadow. I bet that was a rat's shadow that I saw.
Bring it on! That's right!
Not good enough absorb chance. I take a sip of my real liquid determination here. Okay, that wasn't a sip. That was more like... not exactly a chug. A long... Draw? I'm sure there's a word for that. I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's not... It's almost on the tip of my brain.
I'm feeling overburdened by money. Caveat emptor. I'm sure we'll be doing this again soon enough. See you real soon, I'm sure.
You're gonna be my new meat fight!
Not where I meant for that to end up. Malawan, I love you.
I've got a hole full of meat! You're gonna hit me! Now! Hit me! 3 pounds of flesh! Come to me, my tasty cake!
Tasty cake.
You're not gonna slow me
3.
down!
I had a feeling it might happen.
Ah, damn it! Turn deployed!
Regenerating rockets in the middle of battle. With the help of my phalanx shield. Dual phalanx shields.
Those meat puppies! Like children do ice cream trucks! I want all the hurt!
I know I said I would experiment with an SMG loadout. Now that I can regen SMG ammo. And I will, once I get some really good SMGs to justify it. That blue electric one just didn't impress me. I guess I could try it out. Against the right enemies, it's doable, if not impressive. Serviceable, but not exceptional.
anything catches your eye.
Keep it, keep it, keep it. Sell it. Keep it, keep it. I do want to have... Of course, I'm not selling the body. I do want to have some sort of assault rifle, blast rifle, machine gun.
Hey y'all, welcome to the new and improved Catch a Ride. Now with 47% more than 26% death annually.
This one.
Just come on, nuts! Quit screwing my shit! Move it again! You're nothing!
Got this launcher.
You got an extra fatal lead shooter!
Oh! You rat! All you do is make me miss. That's all you're good for. Pissing me off now.
Deploying sentry!
Get those things out of my face, please. That might be a worthy consideration. Do I have steady on? Yes. Oh, yeah. That's the right choice right there. Now, I wonder how the combination of these two things will affect an elemental launcher. Melee might be more worthwhile too, because impact also does that. Bring it. Bastards will never learn. Just go away, please.
Awesome.
That might, well, it's a 55. I didn't see where Savage Lee bought it. reason that's a concern is because that can increase the probability of missing out on the Herald. If he drops it, but you don't see it, or if some dipshit bullymong or whatnot dies on top of it and you just happen to not be able to see it for that reason. I might not even farm for the Herald. Well, I don't know. I know I keep saying this and that, but let's see if you can hit it. I almost thought it was going to travel through the scenery and actually hit me for a moment there. Clever, but not clever enough. I should have said clever girl in reference to Muldoon from Jurassic Park. Not surprisingly, my favorite character. Roland is my favorite character from the second one. You know, the Safari Hunter. And yes, that is the character's name, Roland. Spawn a new Jake. From right over there to here.
Lock and load.
Keep it. It served me well for a long time. It's a 48, and here I am, 57, and finally selling it. And it's not even anything special. It's a relatively common class mod. It's just that useful.
Goodbye, friend. If you shop anywhere else,
For me, anyway.
Catch you later.
I like the way you trade base stats for extra effects with class mods. It evens things out. I would have expected one to be enough, even without slag. With these explosive and fire buffs. Axton the Krieg. Exploding and fire.
guns, glorious guns.
All right. This failed to impress me.
Don't
But it's a Torg, and Torg guns benefit from grenade buffs. Let me check something for a moment here. Yeah, I've got some time. I'm gonna go down to the dry docks. See if I can rustle me up something nice. Gravity defying. Gravity defying. 2 minutes. Won't last 2 minutes. You lasted all of... what was it? 10 seconds or less? I am interested in a fire SMG that's level appropriate and preferably mellow on. Should get that out of the way.
It's gonna slow me down. Now you'll see what my mother saw. Not dead yet. Eat this.
Oh, you're a tough one, huh? What stuff? Plenty of space. Let's try this. That's actually not bad. We're getting stuck on the scenery, please. It's not great either. It failed to kill one guy with one mag. Lower, intermediate grade enemy. Stuck on scenery again. Why is that so hard? From my cold, dead hands. Guess not. Not good enough. I'm only doing it because I want that doll predator skin. Otherwise I wouldn't even have assault rifles in my inventory at this point. Cleaning the place up.
You won't last 2 minutes. Ow, it's... I want it. Dropping sentry.
Why do I have such a hard time? Well, part of the problem is it's not a close-range weapon. It should be used at a bare minimum of medium range. Thanks for standing there.
I need a powerful
No. Always when I face these guys, I have trouble slagging them for some reason. And they're nothing special either. I'll blow you in chunks. Look at all that gear. Of course. Oh, screw you, game. This game is an asshole. See? What did I say before? Whenever I die, it's because of some miscalculation. Well, in this case, it's a miscalculation due to incompetent game design. Borderlands 3, pay attention. No more of that shit. We're sick to death of it. Invisible barriers and stuff. This isn't 1997. Standards have increased since then. You are not PO'd. Who else remembers that one? PO'd was a 90s FPS game from the 90s. Where was that electric? The dude with the electric weapon? I know I don't need those red rocks. I just picked them up because, well, leaving them there just feels wrong. Feels irresponsible. Gone. Topping off the mag just because. Is this even a magazine? If the magazine for a caseless rifle is called a flechette, then what is it for a Malawan? Bring it! Bring it! Bring the thunder!
That's right!
Something worthwhile. Could be. Now, let's see. Resourceful, battlefront preparation. Impact Grenadier and Frontline Tactician. Those are the ones I will keep. All in all, a good haul. I better get back to...
Remember, we're always open. Come back anytime.
Sanctuary and check the shops. Madhouse, not my style. I play better as Zero than I do as Gage. So naturally, the Madhouse doesn't match my gameplay style.
Get your health and shields right here. Lock and load.
Don't need to check the grenade shot because I've got my grenade. Fastball.
I can't stand it any longer.
Gun. High quality, low price, and no question.
It's the Vault Hunter they've been talking about.
If he ain't dead, I'll keep you that way. Stay alive out there. I'll patch you up whenever you need it. Be careful out there. See you real soon, I'm sure.
Now I can finally pass off the Bonnie. I'd say it saw pretty good use. Not going to pick this place clean like I usually do, just going to check the shops.
You can never be too well armed.
That's actually a worthy consideration, considering the combination of things I have. Keep front line, sell efficient.
Tear the bad guys a new one, huh? Come back anytime. I'm always happy.
Force myself to skip over those things in there that I usually open up.
Stay alive out there. Buy a gun already.
Tempting, but it doesn't have the right parts.
Tear the bad guys a new one, huh?
I am interested in acquiring
Farewell, friend.
Malawan launchers in all elements. Not going to do any gambling right now. Where am I going? I just checked those things already. That's because I usually start right here when I check the shops. Alright, these I will check. And
Haven't found anything good? My weapon machines will fix that for you. Now,
sure, why
get
not?
to kill, dog. Get killed.
Now, don't really. I might as well go ahead and sell that, but whatevs. I'll decide what to do with some of these things later. Amassing my SMGs to match with this. My SMG collection. And my rocket launcher collection. Catch you on the flip side, and see you next mission, slabs.